mean, you know how it goes sometimes.
I'm not trying to go the DMC route, scream for years, and lose my voice.
Yeah, or, lose your sense and sensibilities. At any rate.
Man, DMC is that dude. He's very in control of his faculties.
Oh, I know he is.
I think his voice is slowly coming back. Well,
that would be a good thing. Hey, look, I hope the DOCs come back a lot more than it did. But at any rate, hold on one second. Yo, what's the good word? It's your man Beretta. Welcome you to the latest episode of The Mind of Beretta. You know how you can always get in touch with me. You get at me at Beretta Beats, BERRETTA Beats on Instagram and on Twitter. Once again, if you know me by my government name, you can also get at me on Facebook. So, with all the stuff that's happened over the last week or so, how's everybody doing? Me, gotta be honest with you, I tend to overthink a lot of things. I tend to overanalyze a lot of things. And sometimes it'll give me a headache. Sometimes it'll get me, 2 steps away from a stroke. And this is where this dude comes in. I'd like to introduce you from the elder youth. My man, my brother Kreid. How you doing, brother?
Hi. That's Chris with a K, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm playing.
Oh,
peace.
See, you on this drunk shit right now, but that's okay because this episode of The Mind of Beretta is brought to you informally by this bottle of Bud Light that I'm getting ready to drink.
Yes.
At any rate. So
in kind.
Yes. Listen. I would love for somebody to, in some way, shape, form, or function, make some sense about some of the things that have gone on in the past week. I mean, we're talking about, breaking news that came over, I think, what was it, yesterday morning? 2 bits of breaking news. Number one, that officer in Minnesota that was on trial for the blatant videotaped murder of Philando Castile was found not guilty on all charges. Mm-hmm. Now, for a little bit of context, we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a officer involved shooting trial, the second trial actually of former University of Cincinnati police officer Ray Tenzing. The first trial ended in a hung jury / mistrial.
That is right. And
of course, the city has been kind of sitting on, edge because along with the Philando Castile murder up in Minnesota, it was caught on camera.
Yeah.
And now, my brother Kreid, from the elder youth, mind you, I need somebody to explain to me, how can you have irrefutable, undoctored videotape footage of a man being murdered by a police officer, and that officer gets cleared of all charges? The floor is yours.
Classism, protocol, social, societal protocol. We have to figure out, firstly, what we don't know. That's the main thing we have to figure out.
Okay, hold on a second. So I'm gonna walk this road with you on the classism. Now, again, full disclosure, me and his brother right here, we have these discussions practically every day.
Yeah.
And there are times where it's a bridge too far for me to walk.
Yeah.
And then there are times like today where I'm going to walk down that bridge. I'm going to walk down that road with you.
Yeah, get ready. It's the Brooklyn Bridge.
Hey,
maybe the Golden Gate.
I mean, something. Okay, you're going to have to... I'm going to walk down this road with you. It's a classism issue.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, we don't like to play the race card. But as it applies realistically, which always is the case, especially in this country, it's the unfortunate reality. We have to ask ourselves, what is the value of a black life? You say Black Lives Matter. Okay, that's a movement that started, what, has it been 3 years now?
Yeah. We'll go with 3 years. I mean, I know it's probably been longer, but we'll go with that.
First thing you have to ask, if this really is a fair and just society, why would we even need to petition that notion to the public? Like it should not even be an issue. There should not be an issue involving a racially motivated injustice in the first place. But if there is, why and who am I trying to convince that Black Lives Matter? Now,
not only that, but
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
I you get that back at me if you want to at some
you're
point
right.
in time. But what really kills me is, I will never forget this as long as I live, seeing that video clip of that bullshit artist, David Clark, up there in Milwaukee, that stupid ass sheriff standing up there with his chest all out, with all them fake ass medals and fake ass ribbons, saying, Blue Lives Matter.
Right.
Motherfucker, I'm going to tell you this right now. Okay, and it's been said by plenty of other people, but I'll come out and say it if anybody else is too damn scared to say it. Blue lives will never matter until Black lives matter. All lives matter. All lives will never matter until Black lives matter. Because when you sit there and you say that Black lives matter,
right,
and then when you turn around and say all lives matter,
right.
All lives include Black lives, right?
Yeah.
All lives include blue lives, right?
But when people make statements and then other people evaluate those statements, or they do an assessment on that statement, when people do an assessment on the statement, you have to ask the question, what? Okay, you can say, all right, all lives matter, but what's the scale? That's the problem. Classism still applies. If you have a certain set of people, whether it's racial or demographic, whether it's based on financial status, social status, whether you're a celebrity or you're the upper echelon of the career spectrum, you take your pick what you think that is. The question is, how do you rate a life? Like, how do you rate a life versus another life?
You mean trying to put a value to it?
Because the problem is, if you say all lives matter, that's a general statement. It sounds like a blanket statement, and it implies that all lives matter equally,
regardless of race, color, creed, gender, ethnic background, whatever.
But in a world of cliquishness and individualism, who really is going to believe that? You understand? Like, here's the truth. Take race out of the equation. Take a next black family down the street. No matter if somebody from their family perpetrates an injustice on somebody in your family, no matter how wrong that is, even in that case, they're going to try to alleviate guilt from unless they're fair and just people, they're going to try to alleviate the guilt involved. The guilt that is not only implied, that's been enacted. Like that guilty act, they're going to try to make it lighter. They're going to try to make it lighter, and excuse me if I'm tripping over words, but because that situation kind of, it doesn't boggle me because I see it clearly, but it concerns me.
Okay.
Because, well, I'm not going to tell my backstory, but that's for another day, but you have to ask these questions. What is my life compared to this person's life? What is my life compared to that? Because the thing is, if you make it equal, guess what they call you? What do they call you?
They call you a socialist.
Yeah, socialist or communist. Because the implication in calling you that is saying, well, in these formats, all people are equal no matter what position they hold in life, and I don't view you as equal. The people that call you socialists are saying, there's no way our lives are equal.
Okay.
You understand?
No, I see exactly what you're saying. Okay. And again, I'm rolling down this road with you. We got the top back, we got the beers rolling. But here's
Speaking of which,
yeah, I get you one, or you grab it out the freezer.
Yeah, because I want to listen.
Yeah, well, let me give you my 2 cents about this, and I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not in the position or the mood to sugarcoat this shit. Okay, I got a wife. I got a stepson. Okay, that is my son, and you've heard me say it before in previous podcasts. Okay, I don't believe in that stepson, stepdaughter, stepchild shit. Okay, I got married to his mother. That means he's my son. With that said, there's no way any human being on the face of this earth can put or place some sort of value on each one of their lives to me, because their lives are priceless to me. Okay, just as anybody else out here that has family members, children, parents, whatever, guess what? Their lives, and in that meaning to them, their lives are just as priceless. Hi, wifey.
Look.
Charlotte Davis in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Word. Cheers.
Cheers. Hey. At any rate, my biggest concern when we talk about the state of the black community in regards to police brutality and what some would call this rash of officer-involved shootings. Please, do not get this fucked up. Police have been shooting black men for a long ass time now.
New.
It is absolutely nothing
There's
new.
another question, like, why suddenly is this making news where it didn't? If you ask guys in New York or any other big city, that stuff's been happening for eons. And nobody, and some people might even get a little ticked off at the fact that now you're making news of it. Well, my homies done caught it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the end of some policeman's gun for virtually nothing.
Yes.
And you just now making news of that?
Oh, absolutely. Now check this out. This is just a small tangent, a small parallel. It's just like the quote unquote opioid epidemic. Translation, that's heroin. You're calling it an epidemic in 2017? You didn't call that a fucking epidemic in the 1970s when it was eviscerating the black communities of New York City, Oakland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and here in Cincinnati, Ohio. You wasn't calling it a damn epidemic then.
See, once again, what you just said. Listen, you said a whole bunch. Now the question becomes this: if you got, I've seen people on Facebook run that All Lives Matter. Is that a statement or a question? You understand what I'm saying?
No, I know. I understand what you're saying. Problem is, half of these motherfuckers out here don't understand that. Why? Because they want to use this as some sort of political statement, some sort of political slogan, some sort of, something that makes me feel like, hey, I fought for the cause du jour today. Man. Sit down.
So, okay, where's the first thing? You could respond to my man about, like, how do we read between the lines on these issues? Because everybody has an underlying statement, which might be a mission statement or whatever, that declares what they really feel in relation to these different slogans. You say Black Lives Matter. What Black Lives Matter? But because question, is it celebrity Black Lives Matter, or is it all Black Lives Matter?
We'll see. Now I'm gonna have to interject with this.
Yeah.
Okay. The very fact that people regard it as what Black Lives Matter is a problem. We are not what. We are people. We are human beings.
Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. The lady was his name Tim Ferguson? Was that guy's name that got shot?
Which one? Up in
was that Oklahoma? Was that
no,
St.
Minnesota?
Louis? St. Louis? I'm talking about
Michael Brown. That's the guy. That's the one that got shot in Ferguson, Missouri.
I apologize to get my info twisted. I want to blame it on inebriation, but perhaps I can't. Okay. All right. My point being is, all right, if it was anybody else's family, what would the people who lost their son really give a shit? There's a question. You understand what I'm saying? If on the flip side, if that had happened in Glendale, Ohio, where I'm from, and some black dude lost his life to some gung-ho Glendale officer,
of which there are
a couple
of them. Considering there's only 6 of them on the force.
Snack. So, like, if you got a situation like that, would people in St. Louis really give a crap? Like, now, granted, granted, a lot of people showed concern about the Timothy Thomas incident. Now keep going, because I want to give a little bit of context with that. But did they give a crap enough about that because the Black Lives Matter movement could have started with Timothy Thomas in the 2000s? That set off the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? That incident making public news, and subsequently the riot, or whatever you want to call that. I call it more of a public fuss than an actual riot. And I'm not dissing the people involved, because some people really, really, were trying to make a movement out of that. But other people's just stragglers, like, I'm going to throw this. You know what I'm saying?
Because they have their own quote unquote political agenda or personal agenda. It wasn't even
public agenda. It's just some people was just followers. But I'm not mad. Matter of fact, I retract that statement for this reason, because even those that only did that, guess what? They were part of the whole mass movement. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that made enough noise to ring around the world.
Right.
So I can't even downplay that. So I retract that, and pardon me for stepping on any toes. If you were one of the guys that just picked up a chair, like, here's a chair, as opposed to the people that held up signs, stepped in the police face, those dudes, like those guys, they were right in the mouth of the beast practically. I got a lot of respect for them dudes,
and that's true. Yeah. Now, but before we go any further, just for a lot of those folks that don't see the news for what it is, or choose not to go back any further than 30 minutes or 45 minutes ago, let me give you a brief history on what became of the Cincinnati riots. This was back in the year 2001. Okay. Now, this young brother, 19 years old, name was Timothy Thomas. He was unarmed. Okay. He got shot, killed by Officer Stephen Roach. Now, anybody that lives in Cincinnati should know that name very well, especially those that frequented around the Evendale, Ohio area. Because did you know that's where he ended up for a time?
Oh, yeah, my dude got a ticket from me.
Yeah. Well,
oh, Mangum.
Yeah, nowhere near Evendale, technically, but
they annexed that part. That part ain't even Lincoln Heights, bro. They annexed that as Evendale.
Okay.
They stripped that industrial section. They basically rerouted that money. Should have been going to that community.
But you know what?
Like they didn't already have GE.
Oh, believe me, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But one last point about that.
Yeah.
GE technically was Lincoln Heights.
Evendale was Lincoln Heights. Like I learned that from my older dude.
Oh, okay.
All of that. But once again, what you call is that would you call that gentrification? What would you call that?
No, I would call that outright theft.
Theft.
But
we're not going to let niggas get that money.
Exactly.
Here's my whole thing. Black Lives Matter should not apply strictly to injustices involving violence. All injustices are a statement because you are killing something one way or another. If I'm not taking your life physically, I'm taking your financial. I'm taking away the ability for your kids to have a prosperous future with some sense of pride. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, 3 words: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what you truly are taking away from an individual.
And you switching it out because the question now becomes, what happiness are you trying to give me? You giving me drugs, promiscuous activity, clubbing. Some people go to college, have a career, but their college life is here in a box.
Yeah. It's not exactly something that I'm going to argue with you about, which brings us full circle back to what is the value of a human life. I mean, yeah, we took it off from a black person's perspective.
Yeah.
So now, before you get there, what is the value of a human life? Then you have to break down that definition.
You know
what is life?
You want to know the problem with these type shows is you get feedback and people will say, "Hey, there's my opinion," but what you say as opposed to what you express, I would rather somebody state exactly what the expression is. You see what I'm saying? Because if you actually a snob to just like to put up a good public image, like, oh, well, hey, I believe all people, even niggers, are.
but see, they don't even want to.
Niggers are people too.
No, they don't even want to classify that. Okay, they just want to keep it real safe and say, oh, well, I believe that every human being on the face of this earth has value, but they won't define that. They?
You won't. Here's the thing: I can't stand. You heard me say this outside of this talk we having now. Mr. Jackson, I love this dude for teaching me advanced English 9th grade, the glittering generality. And that's what this whole world's full of glittering generalities. You giving vague ideals to follow. You know what I'm saying? There's no definites to anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even when you enter into whatever venture with another party, be it marriage, friendship, business, the whole slogans that you get, they're vague. You have to define them as you go along. They become more and more refined as you go along. But think about it. I do. Do what? Okay, honor, obey, but what falls under that? Because then now those statements get lost in translation because my interpretation of that oath is different from another person. Eventually, y'all got to come out of eye on what that means. You see what I'm saying? Or at some point or something, y'all got to at least agree on enough to still function as a unit. Now, in a friendship, we say, hey, this is my friend. One guy has a standard of what a friend is. Other guy has another standard of what a friend is. You constantly evaluate.
We know it. We know all about that. We know somebody right now that will literally tell you that they have a real strong literal definition of what a friend is.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. Once again, I digress. The whole point of what you're saying, that at least I'm getting, is the fact that you have this singular thought of every life, every human being on this planet matters. Okay, you can define what is life, who interprets this, that, and the third, and whatever.
Yeah.
But what it all boils down to is that, and you just said something, that there has to be a meeting where people come eye to eye and basically lay down a ground rule, or a set of ground rules, to to basically define what this is, what life is. And I'm not talking about in some existential definition. I'm talking about average, everyday, real world. Because when it comes down to it, people like me are dying every single day at the hands of law enforcement. People like you are dying every single day. People like every last one of y'all that are listening to this podcast has the potential, white, black, or otherwise. You have the potential to be on the wrong end of the barrel of a police gun.
It's our duty, man. Look, I ain't even just talking about police brutality. It is our duty. Look, bruh, we come from a certain era, bruh.
Yep, we are men of a certain age, aren't we?
Yeah, ain't that some shit? Now, but being from that era, things were a little more clear cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, man, we could say racism was at an all-time high in Cincinnati during this era. Not that it ain't now, but the problem is when motherfuckers get lost, we become victim of the glittering generality. Like, whereas, like, we establish friendships, but those friendships come from false places, or the friendships are formed under an umbrella of vices. So, if my drug buddy, I start making a friend because we smoke crack together, you know what I'm saying, and we share our life. I mean, maybe a real friendship could come out of that, but where it started is it came from a fucked up place. You understand what I'm saying? So, but using that analogy, okay, where we are, and again, I have to tell people this, I don't necessarily mean to look at life from a strictly black and white perspective, because I know there are a lot of gray in the middle of all this. But I can't speak from Bob Jones, the lily white, married with 2.5 kids living in a 4-bedroom house in Springdale. I can't speak from his point of view. I can only speak from my point of view. And my point of view simply wonders this. When is it going to be, when is enough going to be enough to where not only we as a people, black people, say we're not going to stand for this anymore, and we're going to do something more than marching, holding up picket signs, and getting down on our knees and praying, because all of those things seem to go on every single day,
but yet we still end up dying.
Thing is, when your basic desires are met, most of the time you don't give a shit about anything else. That's the truth of things. Man, you know how many people, men and women alike, once they get a good job or what they consider a good job, by good, in my eyes, I could be wrong. By good means
it takes care of their basic
bills
needs.
Getting paid. They keep a crib. They keep a decent whip. They keep basic maintenance. They keep their kids straight.
And
right?
on top of that, they can go on a vacation.
They can explore their vices or their pleasures on a minimal, at least on a minimal scale, to where they can gloat. So, something to gloat about. You're good. So, on individually, it might look good. Hey, I know a number of women in the medical field. They hit that stride in the medical field. Can't tell them shit. Because their bar is only yay high. And even though that's a lot of stuff to cover with bills, kids, blah, 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 it's still kind of low, all of us. Because it's going to be low as long as it's not communal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Individually is nothing. See what I'm saying? Because, but it's good for you. It's good for me. If you got your business handled, you can enjoy your life. That's good for you. But when we are starting to slowly be trained not to give a shit about the whole. You know what I'm saying?
And that's where it needs to get back to.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's never really been there. It's just we always been in a position where we were looking down that area, and we started progress toward it. As soon as we start progress toward it, some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? There's a war. There's a war all of a sudden where they want to call all American citizens to represent America, even though America doesn't represent certain demographics.
Oh, absolutely not.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Properly.
No, I know. I understand that more than anybody.
But now the compassionate side of non-whites, you know what I'm saying, or even underprivileged whites, poor classes of whites, their compassionate side that still holds a certain love for this country is like, you know what? Man, we got to rally together for the sake of this cause, that cause, whether it's 9/11, Gulf War, you know what I'm saying, whatever, and we do it. But at the end of the day, all these lower classes and non-white classes are getting, lower class whites and non-whites are getting a shaft at the end of the day. You still got to fight for decent gigs. You are, even in a white community, you eventually get shitted on if you decide to form, if you decide to rally as a community and form a movement to improve communities on a grand scale, not just your own. Like, if you decide, hey, we're going to do a community and we're going to subsist as a community, but in some remote part of buttfuck Ohio, and as long as you don't bother us, we ain't going to bother you. There's no real, nobody bothers you. Yeah, but the minute you have to answer these questions, the minute you actually try to form a solid movement where you're gonna, everybody's a community of mutual respect that don't put up with any secretive bullshit, on some, because we're not, which does exist, people that ain't gonna put up with pedophiles posing as preachers or all the little dumb shit like that. You got, when you start to form that shit, we was talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah. I mean, I get what
I don't know, man.
No.
I mean, because we just stem from police violence, but the whole thing, at the end of the day, the general theme is who the fuck has a right to value one life over another. I mean, even black folks don't do that. I can have black pride all day, but if a black dude did some fucked up shit to a white dude unjustly, I can't support that.
No, nobody in their right mind would expect you.
They would expect you as a black person to do that. Listen to what I'm saying. But if a white dude perpetrate the crime on a black dude, we keep making excuses for the white dude.
And even more than that, okay, if you happen to be witnessing, and we're not just talking about, like law enforcement or anything, okay, you'll be somewhere out and about where you'll see a white dude and a black dude get into a fight. Okay, and that white dude beat the shit out of that black dude, right? Yeah. For whatever reason, black people will sit there and watch him and be like, "Oh, you got knocked the fuck out!"
Right.
But
I guarantee you, if there was a bunch of white folks around and a black dude did that to a white dude, you about to get cold clocked.
Man, no, you ain't about to get cold clocked or lynched. When you start to throw that second punch, is when you die.
Yeah.
Okay, but yet if you flip the situation around, a whole mass of black people with that one white person and a white person do that, they be like, "Ooh, let them fight, give them a fair one." Man, fuck out of here with that, man. So basically,
that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
I don't really like to get racial because at the end of the day,
I understand.
No. I mean, the reason I say that, it's not even trying to avoid the issue, because I believe at the end of the day, I'm not even going to say it exceeds race. No, it does not. What I'm saying, at the end of the day, all these divisions were formulated. We got to start getting behind the reason these divisions were formulated. There's nothing wrong with distinctions. What I'm saying is, black dudes, white dudes, I like the beauty of shit. I don't like nobody trying to tell me we're all one color. Yeah.
Bullshit.
We're not even one color to the colorblind, because you still got black, white, and gray. Is that what I'm saying? So my point being, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I totally understand what you're saying.
But my point being, no, enjoy the distinction, even if the distinction is not necessarily something appeasing to you. Enjoy it for the fact that it's different. Enjoy life for life. It's the same thing, like, bruh, I think you and I have a almost equally high distaste for snakes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't deny the beauty of them motherfuckers. I just don't want them around me.
No. Now listen. God damn it, I'm not taking one further step down that road, because snakes are ugly as fuck. Okay, and believe you me, okay. But we're not even gonna go there. Evidently, this is gonna be one of those situations. This is gonna be one of those topics that we literally could talk about forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
I like snakes outside of their striking distance.
Oh man, fuck a snake, bro.
Snap.
But when it all boils down to it, we have some serious work that we need to do. Yeah. I mean, not only amongst us, but us meaning black people, but we got some work to do, as a whole wider human community.
Yeah, right. Look, I got no problem with the black thing, because we'll talk about our histories later, but dig this, like, I'm a black dude. If I was any other demographic, it would only make sense for me to rep my demographic first. So what I'm saying?
And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is the one thing, and I've told this to you plenty of times, okay? Yeah. Again, I'm starting to come down that, road with you as far as this is a class issue, just as much as it is a race issue, okay? My boy, Lauren Robinson, one of these days, I'm going to get him in here, and we going to have a serious little talk, because his viewpoint is it's almost a mirror of yours, but he takes it like 10 steps further than I've ever heard you say it.
He probably got a lot of references that at one point I may have had, but my brain's a little fried from excessive drinking drugs.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, weed was good back in the day, but
back in the days when we were fab.
No, I prefer back in the days when I was young. I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I prefer. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Back in the days when I was a teenager.
Okay. Now, listen, man. What do you think about Bill Cosby? And before you go,
shizzy nizzle.
Yeah, before you go there, I'm just gonna put this out here.
Yeah.
I do not, and I mean, I have to choose my words a little carefully on this.
Okay, make it happen.
Okay. There is no cause whatsoever for a woman to be abused or violated by a man in any shape, form, or fashion, physically, emotionally, sexually, the like. Okay.
True.
I know. I got a little more.
I ain't saying that.
I also believe that a woman has the ultimate right of first refusal for anything that goes on with their bodies. I say that as a man with 4 sisters. I say that as a man that is married. I say that as a man that has nieces and nephews that I don't even know yet.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad.
Yeah, it goes that deep. Okay.
Son.
With that said, I think it is as you put it, since we talked about this earlier, I think we can consider this a public secret.
Okay.
That this whole criminal proceeding against Bill Cosby is a bunch of horse shit.
Huh.
The floor is yours. Okay. Since you don't want to take the ball just yet.
Hold on. Hey, pause that for a minute. I gotta take me a break.
Pause that motherfucker.
No, okay. So yeah, now we're back. Had to take, little break and things of that
I'm
nature.
back, motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay. But let's see. When last we left, we heard a stuttering motherfucker over here talking about let's see. So on the subject of Bill Cosby, again, the floor is yours.
Well,
yeah. we're back on that
I'm not at a point in life where, I'm not at a point where I'm going to deny, or I personally don't think anybody really knows enough to deny or even embrace any of those claims. Can't necessarily call them false allegations, but I can say there's a lot of fish in the air. Raw fish, like a Seattle market.
Oh, believe me, it smells like all hell and then
Seattle
something.
fish market.
Hey, listen, I'll be the first one to tell you that there's some real foul shit going on. Okay, yeah. But with what we know of some of the situations and allegations surrounding Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
And we also know some of the things that he was trying to do.
Well, like if you put up these allegations against his accomplishments, but you also put up these allegations against one of his last big moves that he was attempting. And
this move was, if his legacy, as far as 99% of this country and perhaps the world, his legacy was already cemented, but this was going to be big.
Well, a lot of people, especially our age group, was already aware that he was attempting to purchase NBC. Now, if you look at his programming, screw the allegations. Look at his programming. Everything from
don't feel like you can't cuss your ass off if you want to go for it.
Word up. Come on, you know how I do. But like, if you look from the late 70s and the early 80s, what did we watch? You know, the likes of, you had your Fat Albert from the 70s.
We can go back to the 60s with I Spy.
No. We ain't talking about that. We talk about when he started getting into stuff for kids.
Oh, okay.
And then this family-oriented programming. And it wasn't like he had a whole slew of stuff, but the impact of the stuff. I personally, I'm going to tell you for real, besides Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, man, when they started doing that picture pages, Cosby picture pages, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that goes back.
Oh, my God. You can do the picture pages, fill your day with picture pages till Cosby does another. When I did, man, I was like, dude, this is the shit. You know what I'm saying? I loved picture pages. I didn't know he could draw.
Yeah.
But
what's really crazy about it, and I hope you get into this, because what you told me about shows like Picture Pages and Fat Albert blew my damn mind.
Oh yeah. Okay, you know what was funny is I thought it was some type of ploy by the powers that be when I had a box set of Fat Albert, and I saw he had a board of psychologists, that helped to analyze the show.
A board of psychologists.
Yeah, it was several different ones, and I was under the impression, you start thinking the worst up front. So I was like, what the fuck, right?
Basically on some mind control shit.
Right, that they were maybe trying to find something that was subliminally negative yet appealing to black youth. No, it was quite the opposite. It was funny watching that Dave Chappelle show on Netflix, which if you haven't checked it out, dude, it's the shit. But when he highlighted the fact that the psychologists were actually reviewing his whole setup,
right,
to make sure that that a lot of those images, or if not all of them, will reflect positively on the minds of black youth, which is
actually really, really funny when you sit there and think about it. It's like what all of us were taught, was that the media, is this big bad enterprise, this, wanting to program, the masses to, feel a certain way, act a certain way, desire a certain thing.
Right.
But what you're telling me is that there was this actual board of psychologists
that he employed,
yeah, that wanted to make sure that all of the images of black people
weren't impressed negatively. That they did not impress negatively upon years of watching it. And now I'll say this. Now I don't remember all the cartoons of the 70s, except old cartoons that were had been in syndication for decades at that point, which is your Popeyes, your Woody Woodpeckers, your Looney Tunes, which did come up with some new ones in the 70s.
Now, mind you, sorry, but mind y'all, again, we are men of a certain age, so yeah, we're talking about cartoons.
I'm so mad. These kids, there was some good. Now, mind you, there was some good shit from the 90s and beyond. But I'm gonna tell you what. It wasn't fucking with the likes of, even beyond Bill Cosby, nigga, we had Space Ghost and Thundar.
But listen, for all of y'all that, are listening that were born after 1990, y'all childhood sucked.
Pretty much.
But as you were saying about.
So what trying to, let's stick to the topic, but. And then, years later, of course, you have the likes of the Cosby Show and then Different World, and then where Cosby took off from there, and then the little show where he featured, children, kids say the darndest things, and then you look at, the stuff he was doing in between. Well, like, it didn't take the Dave Chappelle show to highlight this stuff, but it did make me think. I'm not gonna lie, I had to start looking into it myself. If you want, later on, hopefully we can submit some references just for some sources to check out, some of these contributions. But like, some of them I was, already aware of. Other ones not so much. But the point being, I knew what I did know, I knew how it impacted me. You know what I'm saying? I always thought that guy's a great guy, very positive. The one stand-up that Bill Cosby himself was like the shit. Mm-hmm. I personally bought, not my mother's copy, my copy, when that Bill Cosby album, where it was basically a lot of the jokes from Bill Cosby himself with a couple extra stuff.
Right.
Man, I bought that myself, and I played that motherfucker as much as I was playing Run DMC, and anybody that knew me in my Run DMC, I played the shit out of it. Some Run DMC.
Yes, sir.
So like, that Bill Cosby, I love that shit. Like, and then it even made me want to look for older Bill Cosby stuff. I found that's when I discovered he did, little music. Even his music was positive, no cussing. I even discovered, if I'm correct, I need to look at this myself, but one of the reasons for a lot of his riches wasn't just the Cosby Show. If I remember correctly, he contributed to some of them songs sung by the likes of the Jackson 5. Like, yeah, check that out. You look at some of the credits and it says William H. Ain't his name William H. Cosby?
Yeah. William H. Cosby Jr.
Well, when you see William H. Cosby, it's definitely on some of them credits. I don't know if it's I Want You Back, but it's like, bruh.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm talking about some of their biggest hits.
Right.
This dude co-wrote, if not wrote.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck?
So basically, I mean,
He's ingrained in our culture, man.
Yeah, the list of accomplishments and accolades for Bill Cosby literally are miles, plural.
Yeah,
miles
but like,
long.
and I'm just saying, like, you take this guy, it's not to say because of these accomplishments he couldn't be like a underground dirtbag. A lot of people, come on. Yeah. Anybody that goes to church, how many stories I heard, and I'm not going to mention any particular church, but how many stories I heard, not even about pastors taking no pieces. I'm talking about women giving them pieces for whatever reason, just to corrupt. And they took it because they're like, it's here. Like, oh Lord, help me. But
listen, when you hear stories of women actually sitting in the front pew, right in front of the pastor with their legs open, showing all their little goodies and modesty. I mean, listen,
for the preacher and the choir.
Let the church say amen.
Start wondering why them tenors singing extra high like.
Let the choir say amen. Wow.
That ain't no man right there.
No, that damn sure ain't. But the point of it all is that, yes, everybody has that capacity to be foul as fuck.
Well, yeah, that's one of the points. But the point being is, okay, some of them same preachers, did a lot for their churches. I'm not saying the shit's cool. You can say the same. You could raise the same point. For a lot of Catholic priests. Did a lot for their parishes or what have you, and despite the fact they was tickling kids.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. I never heard such a fuss made about. As a matter of fact, there was virtually no fuss made about all these fucking Uncle Touchy ass priests.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is a network of pedophile priests.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
Compared to, I'm not, listen.
Oh no.
I'm not dissing, but first, all these points need to be addressed.
Yeah, that's true.
We talk about all these pedophile priests compared to the potential bullshit of one man. And they made more issues over that one man. Matter of fact, this dude, I'm looking so while we talking. And this the comment I should have made. I'm not going to say this dude's name. I like him. I got a lot of respect for him. Met this cat at the Scribble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
I tell you what.
But he said, man, but he made this comment. I was like, bro. I'm like, dude. So,
but you know what? But before you get into that, man, I mean, the points you made, it cannot be overstressed. The fact that, you can come up with a lot of examples of people doing worse things, and by no stretch of the imagination, let me make this clear, by no stretch of the imagination am I trying to compare child molestation to sexual assault or anything like that.
I am.
Okay. Okay. Speak on it.
I am, because I'm examining dimensions of stuff. Like, whereas
because there is
nuance. There are very few instances where a child is in a position to say, you know what, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. Or when a child is in a position like, you know what, I need to take precaution just in case.
And there's no situation that I've ever heard of where a child is actually saying, I think I like this. Please, sir, may I have another?
Well, it ain't even just right. But like, my whole point.
But again, I don't want to go that deep.
You gotta go that deep.
No, I'm letting you run
because
that
once
deep.
again, all lives matter.
Yeah, all lives matter, right?
So like, riding that theme, the whole thing is, are we devaluing the life of these little kids that got fucked with by these priests to say women that I mean, and there's more credibility in the stories of these children who were violated than these women who, mind you, are trying to lie on a multimillionaire. And then on top of that, so there's money to be gotten in that process somewhere. And it's potentially payoffs. You know what I'm saying? There's so many potential reasons for these bullshit allegations to surface. Whereas there's nothing to gain from children that were introduced to the church environment. There's nothing to gain from them ratting on the priest. You know what I'm saying? Or lying on a priest. So my point being is, yeah, those two should be compared. They should be. I'm not saying, and once again, this is the point I was making earlier, which you remember, is if these women, to me, like, even though the movement is not as advertised, there's still a movement against the whole pedophilia in priesthood.
Oh, I mean, and rightfully so.
Right. But my point is, this whole anti-Cosby movement came and went. So I'm saying, my whole thing is, if it was that impactful, a motherfucker would, that's some shit. If it was really fucking with you that much, you would drive that shit to the ground and make sure everybody knew every fucking day. You know what I'm saying? This is the guy that did this to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the whole problem with that is that the only place that you're going to find that is with the Gloria Allred crowd. Okay, the ultra super hyper, fuck a man feminist. That's the only place.
But they're not even
it.
doing it, because I can't say why. All I can say is, Seattle Fish Market. Like, something is really funky up in this motherfucker. Like, because you have to look in line and what's the, how can I say this? Despite what one person commenting on one of my posts had to say, it wasn't just the late 80s, early 90s when Cosby was attempting to buy NBC. He also
get
just
into that.
Recently attempted to buy that, and several people of my age, older than you, that actually paid attention to the news, realized and remember this news. Man, this news report was just recent. Right. In like the last several years. I remembered it because that shit holds a lot of weight. because the type of programming, I'm pretty sure he weighed a lot of the programming that he might have considered coonery, buffoonery, and said, man, I want to be in charge of a network where I can provide quality non-white programming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what Bob Johnson, at some point in time tried to do, but then I guess the money got too good for him, and he said, fuck it, I'm out.
Dude. So, and now the thing is, you got to ask yourself, it would not be these allegations might hold more weight to some if it weren't so consequential. You see what I'm saying? Right. If those allegations had not fallen shortly after this news report, just like when Michael Jackson was protesting Sony, and there was even talk of this guy venturing out on his own and establishing a label. Mm-hmm. You know how much support he would have had for that label if he had done that? Then all of a sudden, after that stuff started floating around, and then he publicly on a news report also protested Sony and started being vocal about it at different engagements about what he thought was wickedness, from the head execs and Sony, and suddenly allegations of him fucking with kids pop up. They know, man, the two ain't no fucking mere coincidence that them shits happen with two motherfucking legends that had such a fucking legacy and impacted not just black folks, they positively impacted the lives of millions around the fucking world, bro.
And that's
they could
the
damn near form a community and a network amongst these people. Come on, bro.
And we're in the billions when we're talking about.
So at that point, what you think you're doing? Like when you make a move, but you potentially had a power to make moves like that. What's happening? You can even bring the whole Pac up in situation and relative to that, because now you talk about you could throw him in that mix, except he didn't get all that those allegations of those natures toward him. But the point being, you talk about situations where guys with such pull, mm-hmm. if they strayed away from the machine that they were working for whom they were working rather, and said, man, I want to form my own. And then what if the likes of these guys had formed, and we're still all alive, and formed a conglomerate of sorts that wanted to be positive? All of them were striving to be more positive for black folks first, but for people as a whole. You trying to change the landscape of the present culture. You are a threat. You're not only a threat.
Yeah, you're an absolute threat.
You're a threat. You're a threat to whatever control that certain people feel they have over the environment. Then you're a threat to their money. And I'm telling you, you dealing with gangster shit on a small level. You fuck with a motherfucker money on a local level. They trying to off you.
That's true.
So what the fuck? Why the fuck you think if niggas do that locally? Why would you not think
that they wouldn't do it against him
on a big scale? Hell no. You nigga, if a motherfucker try to get over on you for hundreds of thousands, you trying to off him and his kids.
And that's
most of the time. Not me per se. But so what the fuck you think these motherfuckers is thinking in the instance of Cosby and Michael, or even Pac? If this motherfucker think, man, I'm going to and then they said there was reports with Pac want to reconcile with Biggie.
Oh yeah.
Nigga, if them motherfuckers had got together outside of the likes of Puffy and Suge, said fuck all these motherfuckers, man, listen.
Yeah, but I tell you what, man, at some point in time, and in another podcast, man, I want to explore this whole idea with Biggie and Pac for a lot of the, younger audience that, have really no idea what kind of an impact, the fact that Tupac and Biggie had. Okay. But to get back to the point of Bill Cosby, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I mean, what he was trying to accomplish, and who knows, he might be in a position to still be able to, accomplish. I mean, listen, let's just go with this for the shits and giggles angle, okay?
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles, the prosecuting attorney in Pennsylvania that's, presiding over this stupid ass witch hunt.
All right.
Okay. Again, I apologize. I shouldn't call it a witch hunt because, again, everybody has their own demons, but it's quite obvious that this woman that, had brought these charges against him in this case, that, it was considered a mistrial. Obviously there was some discrepancies with that, but let's just say for shits and giggles that he shakes all of this off, and given the fact that he has more than 2 years left on this earth,
all right,
do you think he can honestly make it happen? That dream that he's wanted to fulfill.
Here's the thing. There was a chance. We got to assume that if all this shit happened, this is an assumption, but we got to assume that if all this shit happened consequentially, to pose a hindrance to that transaction, that the transaction may have been possibly in motion.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to assume that.
Okay.
Well, at this point, his credibility's crushed. So his market value went down as a result. And they knew that. They knew that. So that at the end of the day, the whole goal, hey, you fuck up his credibility, you're going to fuck up his money. I mean, people know that. So I'm saying,
and that is actually that's a good point that you bring up, because I mean, lesser people in lesser circumstances have been destroyed over just the hint of a sexual assault allegation. I mean, unless you're a football player or a basketball player, but that's a whole nother story in and of itself.
You see, shit. L.A. Reid had to bounce just recently.
Don't let me get started on L.A. Reid.
Whether or not something happened or not, he's like, I'm out just in case.
No, he didn't say I'm out. They said you're out.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
yeah.
See, I need more. Definitely need more insight into that matter.
Yeah, but
who else? That happened to somebody else just recently. An exec. Who was that?
One of the executives from Fox News, Roger Ailes. Well, it was Roger Ailes, it was Bill O'Reilly, and then it was someone else that was just forced out. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I know you heard Roger Ailes had passed away. I mean, literally, we're talking within weeks.
Right. Stress might have got to him. Losing the job might have fucked with him. I can't, you withhold sympathy not to be inhumane. You withhold sympathy because I don't know the details. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know enough for him. He hasn't impacted me in any way to where I would even take time to question. In
other words, he's not a big enough part of my life to make me ask that question. Man. Why should I give a fuck?
Right now, to anybody, as far as this whole Bill Cosby stuff, I know a few people like, well, he admitted to X, Y, and Z. Yeah, possibly, but like I said, once again, when you're in this game, you don't know the type of. We ain't played with big ballers, so most of us can't even begin to fathom. But you can fathom this. Man, you can fathom this, man. Like, granted, movies make a poor reference to a degree, but there's truth in some issues. We talk about you don't know who's forced to do what or say what. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Like, you talk about a guy that lost his son. Some people could run the whole whatever, secret society shit where somebody might have cost him, might have took the life of his son. Or maybe this dude wasn't acting right, and that and that happened as a result. I can't say that, but at the same time, you can't be surprised honestly, I believe the possibility that guy was even, threatened to do that. There's been lots of people been threatened with their lives, man. Now that happens in the regular, everyday people world, or people threaten, change their stories, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of saving the lives of some loved ones or maybe their own.
That's
you know what
true.
I'm saying? That happens in the regular world. So what do you don't, you have to entertain the probability, not even possibly, but the probability that type shit might have gone on in his case.
Yeah.
But he would just admit shit, man. It's like, is this what you want? Okay, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z. Or, he had to make the story like, you just don't know. Some shit he probably can't even tell his wife. Because if she know, then I might put her in a mix that she don't need to be in. And you just don't know, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, let me end it on this.
My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. Shit, trust me, we could go on for another 2 or 3 hours, man. But I wanted to end it on this because you had saw something on the book or wherever about the statement that Camille Cosby made.
Oh, word.
And I'm here to tell you, I mean, that
I found it.
Yeah, that was from what you told me, the epitome of a class woman, because a woman under any other circumstance in this situation would have literally let him dangle in the wind like, fuck you, dude. You did some dirty shit on me. But again,
she's a champ, right?
yeah, she's an absolute winner.
Like I said, I'm not saying. Look, it is definitely to be noted about another possibility is that him being in the limelight like that. I don't care how attractive he might be. That's Bill Cosby. Best believe it was coochie thrown his way, and you probably more than once. He probably went. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's cool. I just don't. That's Bill Cosby. Like,
Yeah.
If anything, I was joking with my mans earlier. Like, maybe this nigga, maybe some of the women asked for them drugs. Like, ugh. Please, please drug me so I don't have to remember this behemoth hopping on top of me, breathing heavy, like, ooh, you like the pudding, but like, type shit. And then, like, maybe they had to flip it later, like, nobody's gonna believe that I actually asked for the Quaalude.
Yes, you can take this Jello pudding pop right inside of you.
One comedian was like, "You." One comedian was like, "You got cast." So fucked up, nigga.
Ah, damn it, man.
Ari Spears like, "You got cast."
Oh man, stupid, man.
Oh, shit.
Man, anyway, man, what did his wife say, man?
Oh, say yeah, right. All right.
I mean, it was interesting.
Yeah,
it was
it
interesting.
Okay.
Oh,
Statement.
goodness. There you go, man.
Can you hear me?
Shut up. Just get on with it, damn it.
This is Mind of Beretta.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's who I am, damn it.
Chirp,
Okay.
chirp.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and, do a what they call an enroll in the industry.
Know what I'm saying?
This commercial break is brought to you by Crickets.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Damn it, you gotta let the crickets. Oh, fine, go with it.
Cricket.
Yeah, cricket, go.
Say word. We're not talking about the phone service, son. You ready?
Yeah, fuck the phone. Did I say that out? Go for it.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Nah, fuck 'em.
Anyhow, you ready?
Go for it.
Please excuse my mispronunciations, possibly. Camille Cosby's written statement in full. How do I describe the district attorney? Heinously and exploitively ambitious. How do I describe the judge? Overtly arrogant and collaborating with the district attorney. How do I describe the counsels for the accusers? Totally unethical. How do I describe many but not all general media? Blatantly vicious entities that continually disseminated intentional omissions of truth for the primary purpose of greedily selling sensationalism at the expense of a human life. Historically, people have challenged injustices. I'm grateful to any of the jurors who tenaciously fought to review the evidence, which is a rightful way to make a sound decision. Ultimately, that is a manifestation of justice based on facts, not lies. As a very special friend once stated, truth can be subdued but not destroyed. Moreover, I express humongous gratitude to counselors Brian McMonigal and Angela Agrusa for their hard work. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Mr. McMonigal for his passionate and powerful articulations of truth. Miss Agrusa for her thorough research to bolster Counsel McMonigal. To Mr. Andrew Wyatt for his unequivocal skills in public relations. To our team who work diligently and intelligently. To our staffs for their continuous commitment to our family and me. And to our children, grandchildren, and other family who loves us. And to our dear friends and supporters who never gave up on us, despite it all.
Listen.
Class.
If
that's class.
If that isn't riding for your man, I don't know what the hell is. Because, listen, she could have literally just shut the fuck up.
Could have thrown him under the bus.
Hold on. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is she could have just shut the fuck up and just let it ride.
Yeah.
You know. But at any rate, listen here. That's what's on my mind and this brother's mind right here. Once again, I'd like to thank...
That's on his mind. I'm drunk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd like to thank this brother Kreid from the Elder Youth coming and hollering at me, man. We just talked about
this. From the Elder Youth, big brother, I am, but Cincinnati style chili all the way. Remember that.
Yeah. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. But at any rate, shout out your social media details, man.
Shoot. At Kreid, Kreid 71. That's my Twitter feed, at Kreid71. Kreid71 also for Instagram. And you can put in Christopher Reed. That is Chris with a K. Aura, Istofer. That is the Facebookie.
Ain't that it?
Ain't word.
That it. So I'd like to thank all of y'all for checking us out on this latest episode of The Mind of Beretta. As you already know, you can get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Beretta Beats. And once again, you know me by my government name, just like you know Kreid by his government name. You can holler at me at Facebook too. You can check me out also on Facebook at facebook.com/T M as in Mike, O, B as in boy podcast. We are out.
Word.